Hello, students. This is Miss Reed. I'm starting my timer because I'm going to do my best to keep this video under 5 minutes for us. All right, so this video is going to help us understand the major geographic features of the United States, and it's going to help you with your assignment today where you're going to be matching the harbors, climates, rivers, and mountain ranges in the United States. All right, so you've got to understand first that we're looking at the geography of the United States. That's the Earth's surface and the climate. So we're looking at the landforms like mountains and rivers, and then we're also looking at the climate, which would be the weather. Is it warm or is it cool? We're going to be focusing on three major areas. We've got two mountain ranges, the Rockies and the Appalachians, and then one major river, the biggest river in all of North America, that's the Mississippi. All right, so we're going to use this map. It's a little bit more clear. Again, so here's the Rocky Mountains out in west, and then we have the Appalachian Mountains in the east near the Atlantic Ocean, and then the Mississippi River really splits the country right down the middle. Okay, so let's start with the Rocky Mountains. These are the biggest mountain ranges in all of North America. In fact, the mountain range goes from Alaska through Canada, through all of the United States, through Texas, and then all the way down into Mexico. So a huge mountain range. And when you think of a mountain, you picture the big peaks, you picture the snow, that you're really thinking of the Rocky Mountains. Bears live there, mountain lions live there. You can also see Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore is kind of up in the northern portion of the Rocky Mountains, where one man carved 4 presidents into one of the mountains of the Rockies. It took him 20 years to get George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Teddy Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln into that mountain. All right, next mountain range we're going to look at, they're called the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachians are on the East Coast, and to be honest, they're kind of like big hills. They're not huge mountains like the Rockies. They're not snow-capped like the Rockies. They're really covered in big forests, but they're important for 2 reasons. First of all, that's where a lot of coal comes from in the country, even today. So how we heat our homes, how we create electricity comes from a lot of coal that's mined in these mountains. And this mountain range is going to be a huge cause for us to declare our independence from Great Britain in the year 1776. So it turns out this mountain range, the King of England, King George, is going to kind of take advantage of this natural border, natural boundary that we have between the west and the east. Anyway, it makes the colonists really upset. We're going to declare our independence partly because of this mountain range. We'll learn about that more later. All right, and then we have the Mississippi River. Now, the Mississippi River, it starts here in the north, and then it flows southward through the country, and it flows out through the port of New Orleans into the Gulf of Mexico. This Mississippi River is the biggest river in all of North America. It's a mile wide in some places between Mississippi and Louisiana. Lewis and Clark are going to take their journey on the Mississippi. It's famous for steamboats. Steamboats go up and down the Mississippi River from the 1800s through today. All right, the last thing we're going to learn in our video today is this word harbor. So we're going to talk a lot about harbors. They're an important part of our history because back before cars and airplanes, the fastest transportation was actually a ship. And you need a place to put your ship next to the land, and a harbor is the best place to put your ship next to the land. All right, so a harbor really is kind of like a little area of water that's inset into the land. I think this top picture up here really shows it best. So you can bring your ship in, park it on a pier or a port, and then you can unload your goods off of that harbor or off of the ship and onto the land. So super important for our country when it's first starting out, and there are 3 harbors that we're going to actually look at throughout the entire year. Most important one, number 1, is that Port of New Orleans. I already mentioned it. It's where the Mississippi River meets the Gulf of Mexico. You've got steamships. This is where the New Orleans Saints are. This is where our President Andrew Jackson fights a huge battle. We're going to study a lot about New Orleans this year. Then you have Charleston Harbor. Now, Charleston Harbor's got a little bit of a bad rep because turns out it's where slaves were sold into the United States back before slavery was outlawed in 1865. All right, so this is a location where slaves from Africa would be dropped off in the United States and then be put on auction in Charleston Harbor. So an unfortunate part of our past that slaves were sold, and a lot of slaves were sold, thousands and thousands of slaves were sold specifically in Charleston. All right, and the last one we're going to learn about is Boston Harbor. Boston Harbor is up north. This is the home of the Boston Tea Party. We're going to study that in a few weeks. It's still an important harbor for us today. It's where Harvard College is, Harvard University is, and that's where the Pilgrims are going to settle. It's very cold up in Boston in comparison to Charleston and New Orleans, which are down south. All right, I hope this video is helpful for you guys and your learning. Please make sure to rewatch it in order to help with your assignment today. All right, bye guys.